Good evening. Another special war edition of the Megala Mukos. We're a month into the war. It's hard to focus on anything else. I have some really interesting insights into who are the people of Gaza, who lives in Gaza, are they descendants of Shem, Ham, or Yafet? And guess what? The answer is all of the above. And that's meaningful for fighting them in war. So let's get into it. We've talked a little bit already about where they came from. We have this pasuk, which is in Dvarim. The Ramban brought it already in Parshas Bereshis to teach us that when civilizations become criminal and violent, they will be destroyed and exiled from their land. And so the rule of Hamas over the Gaza Strip will come to an end now. It's based on a pasuk, as I said in Dvarim, Ha'avim hayoshvim b'chatzerim ad Aza, kaftorim hayotzim mikaftor hishmidum v'yeshvu tachtam. So the pasuk speaks about earlier civilizations, Avim, who we're going to talk about who they are. They were dwelling in the Gaza Strip. Chatzerim ad Aza is from Rafiach to Gaza City. And they were destroyed by Kaftorim. And we talked about who were the Kaftorim. They came either from Cappadocia in Turkey or from Crete of Greece. They came there and destroyed them and took their place. So we have the people who were dwelling in Aza coming from either Greece or Turkey. Now, the complexity here, and I haven't done any blood tests or DNA tests to really tell you who's living in Gaza today. Gaza is an ancient city that's been inhabited for thousands of years. Samson in the Bible, in the book of Judges, was battling Plishtim. And so Abraham, our patriarch, was making a covenant with Avimelech, Melech Gerar, who's also from the Plishtim. So this is very old story. And again, it's uninterrupted. The Jews were exiled from our land. We're an indigenous people. We've come back after 2,000 years, but the Gaza Strip has been inhabited all that time. And it's what we're going to see today. It's an amalgamation of different kinds of people. So I wanted to share with you some geographical, and here's some good graphics to help us understand in Parshas Noach after the flood. You have three sons of Noach, Shem, Ham, and Yafet. And it didn't used to be clear to me. Today it's very clear to me. Yafet are the Europeans. They're white men, okay? Shem are Semitics. Okay, so we're Jews, we're Semitic, and Ham are Black Africans. Okay, Chazal have an explanation of why Ham was smitten with blackness. There was a prohibition to have marital relations during the year that Noah and his family spent in the ark. But Ham was passionate and wasn't able to abide by the rules, and so he had relations with his wife and he was punished. So you see two different maps here. One has them like spheres and one has Yafet extending eastward into Iran. So again, these are different approaches to understanding the division of the 70 nations of the world according to these three groups of Shem, Ham, and Yafet. I like very much this graphic because now we have it on a latitudinal basis. In the north, you have the white people of Europe. In the middle, you have brown people like me, of Shem. And in the south, you have the Black Africans. And race is important. And I'm not talking about being racist, but about understanding the important role of race in our identity and in nations' identity to help us understand what's driving them. So I do want to characterize a little bit European history, and just 100 years ago, all of Africa was divided, by imperialist empires. There was an empire. I remind you, the sun never set on the British Empire until after the Second World War. So the white people of Northern Europe dominated the globe and had not only visions of grandeur, but true rulership over the whole earth. The great religions, Judaism and what came from it, Christianity and Islam, are all from Shem. And again, they're in this middle band of latitude. It's from Israel, but Muhammad, for example, was also in Arabia, and of course the church became ultimately centered in Italy, in Rome. So Shem are leaders of religion as opposed to leaders of empire. And Ham, uh, the South and Deep Africa, are about passion and power, the drumbeat, okay, and the animal instinct, the drive of the power of the animal nature of man. So I again want to go back to this pasuk about the Avim, who were displaced, destroyed by the Kaftoirim. But what I'm trying to show you now is that the influence, the culture, the background of the people living in Gaza is actually a combination of Shem, Ham, and Yafet. So here's a pasuk. It's in Joshua, chapter 13. מן השיחור אשר על פני מצרים ועד גבול עקרון צפונה לכנעני תחשב 15 פלישתים. So from the Nile across Egypt up into Israel, north towards Canaan, there are 5 princes of the Plishtim. Ha'azati, Ashdodi, Ashkeloni, Hagiti, Va'akroni. And those are the 5 cities of the Plishtim. Today, they're all existing cities. You have Gaza city, you have Ashdod, an Israeli city, Ashkelon, Israeli city, Gat. Today there's a place, it's called Kiryat Gat. And then Ekron, which today is known as Mazkeret Batya. It's named for the sister of Baron Rothschild during the early Zionist years. And then the last word in this pasuk is V'ha'avim. And we've already mentioned the Avim, and so there's sort of a wild card here. It says there's 5 Sarnei Plishtim, and yet there's a 6th nation or group. So who are they? So Chazal mention Gemara and Chulin to take this word V'ha'avim and connect it to the next pasuk. V'ha'avim miteman. So Teman is a descendant of Esav. Okay, he's a grandson of Esav, and I want to talk about him. I do also want to share with you the Ramban. There's a very long Ramban on this pasuk in Dvarim about the Avim and the Kaftoirim. And the Ramban says that the Avim, Aldati, Ha'avim, Hem Hachivim. So we're familiar with the 7 Canaanite nations that Joshua had a commandment to destroy them and to conquer the land. And one of them was the Chivim. And he explains Chivim and Avim is really the same Hebrew word. Minag akasu she'achlifu hashemos kasher amarnu b'yosim moirim al inyan echad. The ayin and the chet are interchangeable letters, and the essence of the chivya is about the snake. So there's something about these people that there's a theme here of the nachash, okay, which goes back to the Garden of Eden and temptation and essentially a symbol of evil. So we have here a portrayal of the Avim, the inhabitants of Gaza, as evil, okay? And that goes back here to this pasuk in Dvarim and then in Yoshua and the interpretation of the Ramban. So let me now lay it out really clearly for you. I have a little bit of a family tree here, but 3 different genealogies for the people of Gaza, okay? So of course it all goes back to Noach after the flood, and he has 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Yafet. I'm going to start on my right, Yafet. And again, he's the European. And so we saw that the Kaftoirim, who came down either from Turkey, from Cappadocia, or they came from Crete. And that would be they came from Yavan, the Greeks, or they came from Gomer, who were up in Turkey. And they came and dwelled in Gaza. So the Gaza Strip was inhabited by descendants of Yafet. That means they're European, and we're portraying the Europeans as those who are interested in expanding their empire. Okay, they want to rule over others. That's one aspect of Gaza. Another is that they're descended from Ham, the middle son, the passionate son, the dark son. Ham is a father of Mitzrayim and Canaanim, the Canaanite nations. From Mitzrayim came the Plishtim and the Kaftoirim. So we mentioned the Kaftoirim. This is a different version that they came from Ham. The Plishtim, that's who lived on the coast of Israel. And again, the Ramban's opinion is that the Avim are the Chivim, the snake people, one of the 7 Canaanite nations that Israel had a biblical commandment to wipe them out. The last approach has the people of Gaza, the Avim, as being Miteman. Now, Teman is a son of Eliphaz. Eliphaz is a son of Esav. And I want to remind you of an important story in order to understand the character of Eliphaz and 2 of his sons, Teman and Amalek. Amalek is also a son of Eliphaz, but from a concubine, not from a full wife. So Teman and Amalek are half brothers, same father, but one's from a concubine and one's from the wife. Now Eliphaz is a son of Esav, and you know Esav. Esav hates Jacob, and Jacob got his brachas and he has his birthright, and so Jacob is on the run from Esav, and Esav sends his son Eliphaz to murder his brother Jacob. And Eliphaz is in a conundrum. He's torn because he says to his uncle Jacob, I have a commandment to kill you for my father, and I want to honor my father's commandment. And my father, Esav, was great in Kibud Av. He himself was a master of honoring his father Yitzchak. On the other hand, said Eliphaz, I'm a grandson of Yitzchak. My Zayde is Yitzchak Avinu, and I was brought up with his ethics. So I can't kill you. I don't want to kill you. You're my uncle. You're the son of my beloved grandfather. How can I go home to Yitzchak and tell him that I murdered his son, my uncle? Can't do that. So what should I do? I'm torn. So the Torah has the concept of Shnei Ksuvim HaMakchishin Ze Ad Ze Ad Sheyavu HaKasuv HaShlishi V'Achriya Beineim. Yaakov Avinu is symbolic of the Torah, and he gives a wonderful Eitzah to Eliphaz, his nephew, and he says, here's what you should do. I'll give you all my stuff. You're stealing all my stuff from me. And that way we have a principle, Ani Chashuv Kames, of an impoverished person who has nothing is considered that he's dead because he has no means to support himself. He's no longer self-sufficient. So to a certain degree, he's dead. Midrashically, he's dead. So it's like you killed me. So you have fulfilled your father's command to kill me, and yet you haven't violated the legacy of your grandfather, Yitzchak. So Eliphaz says, oh, great deal. That's what we'll do. So Eliphaz takes all of Jacob's possessions, and Yaakov goes on his way, devoid of any possessions. Now, we're talking about Eliphaz's sons, Teman and Amalek. Amalek is from the shadow family, from the concubine. So he grows up angry, and he takes his father's conflict, and he solves the conflict, because I am not conflicted about trying to keep Yitzchak Avinu's legacy and being righteous. All righteousness to me is a farce. I'm cynical about it, and I just want to destroy all aspects of power. He's a critical race theorist, and it's all about oppressors and those oppressed. And I'm oppressed. Amalek's oppressed. I'm a victim of oppression, and so I want to destroy every instrument of power. So Amalek wants to make a war on God and a war on all goodness in every fashion and every form that it may appear. Teman is dealing with his father's conflict between the legacy of Esav and the legacy of Yitzchak, and he sees his father was conflicted, and so he's ready just to throw the whole thing away, and he becomes a nihilist. And I want to talk to you now about nihilism. And nihilism could be a sort of a passive philosophy, but it can also be the ethos of terrorists. So I have here a blog from a Pakistani woman who's a true Muslim, and she's really angry at those who are corrupting her religion. And she says, Israel's jihad, its holy war, remains her jihad, and the IDF is her sole soldiers. They're the ones fighting the war for the truth of Islam, getting rid of the usurpers and people who are perverting what might be a peaceful and wonderful religion. So nihilism in this sense is a political belief or action that advocates or commits violence or terrorism without discernible constructive goals. And recently I saw an interview with one of the leaders, I won't say his name, of Hamas, and he's saying, providing for the needs of the Gazan people, that's not our problem, that's the UN's problem, that's Israel's problem. We are just to kill Jews and to express rage because we are the victims, so you can have no claims upon us. So totally perverse concept totally nihilistic. We have no discernible constructive goals. We do not plan to build anything. We're not about a Palestinian state or coexistence or dignity or anything. We are just for destruction. So even given that nihilism and that bloodlust, but Michael Oren, who was the ambassador of Israel to the US, he's a brilliant historian, and he asks though, but why did they take pictures of the atrocities that they committed? So he has really insightful words, like ISIS, which festively filmed decapitations. Hamas revels in recording its savagery. There is ritual to it, bloodlust and theater. In contrast to the Nazis, who understood that the Holocaust was stressful work for its perpetrators, and images of its conduct might shock even the most Jew-hating Germans. But Hamas and other jihadist groups enjoy their job and assume that a great many others will applaud them. The Nazis sought to hide the evidence of their genocide. Hamas posted it on Facebook and Telegram. So where does that come from? Where this evil, this reveling in evil, the bloodlust, the theater, the ritual of bloodshed and abuse in every unspeakable way. So there's this nihilism about it, but I want to look even deeper. I want to look a little bit of brain science and some Freudian psychology. So we'll start with Freud. And I'm sure you've heard before the basic outline of our psyche, the ongoing struggle between our id and our superego, and sort of the referee, the executive function of the ego. So I remind everybody, the id are our basic impulses, whether it's sex and aggression and hunger, seeking immediate gratification. I want it and I want it now. It's irrational, it's impulsive, and it's mostly at an unconscious level. The superego are ideals and morals, striving for perfection. It's your mother's voice of be a good boy. It's incorporated from parents, becoming a person's conscience. And it operates at a mostly pre-conscious level, the edge of the consciousness and unconscious. The ego is the executive mediating between the id's impulses and the superego's inhibitions. It's testing reality, it's rational, it operates mainly at conscious level, but also pre-conscious level. So we're all aware of this, of some things I might want to do, but I dare not do, because I have self-control, and I evaluate and decide and mediate between different voices within me. And I just wanted to share a little bit about today. Freud wasn't able to go this far, but today in brain science, where we can follow brain activity and electrical impulses and blood flow to different parts of the brain, we've identified a reptilian part of the brain. A lizard does not have a superego, and we have a part of our brain that's just like a lizard's brain. So reptilian instincts down there near the brainstem. We have a limbic system on top of that, emotions, which animals also have emotions. And then you have a neocortex. You have a high functioning executive brain that can take into account emotions. It can cool your jets of your id's instincts and your drives, and come to really make a beautiful world of people being on their best behavior, living together in peace. But part of what happened here, and part of the drive here, coming from Ham, the passionate urges and following those without any mitigation, and even then inducing that through drugs. Okay, part of the story of what happened on October 7th was that these people were on drugs, and it's widespread. It's a major industry in Syria and in Gaza, where people are hungry and miserable, so they are addicted to these. They're a type of uppers, they're amphetamines, and one of the things they do is to release any inhibitions. So they're sort of in a drug-induced frenzy that allows them to do the most awful things that most of us would dare never even think about. And they're doing them and reveling in them and filming them and sharing them on Facebook and Telegram. So we got to be careful. Again, we're fighting against barbarism. We're trying to protect civilization. And we have this really dangerous mix of these people that have some European sense of empire, who want to take over the world and kill all the Jews all over the place. We have this real low urges for murder and bloodshed, and we have it all in the name of shame, the name of religion. Okay, so you have Allah Akbar in the name of the God of Abraham, and it's all put together in this nihilistic thing of we don't want anything except to kill. And so this has to be rooted out entirely, eradicated, what President Biden called unadulterated evil, sheer evil. So this needs to be fought until it's utterly destroyed. That's really the only hope, not only for Israel, but for all of civilization, that we put the devil back in the box and we don't allow ourselves to say awful things to one another, and we don't use that kind of language and even entertain those really gross and gory thoughts. We need to put ourselves back into a mode of civil discourse and civil relationships and civility, and get rid of the violent discourse and the violent confrontation that has essentially taken over the mainstream of world culture. So it's homework for all of us to try and put ourselves back on our best self, our make our persona the one that our mother would be proud of, okay, and to be doing good things. So with that, I thank you for being with me and looking forward to seeing you next time. It should be better times after victory. May the good Lord grant us victory over our enemies and protect civilization for a better day.